Dan Illman might be your race number 7 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby Saturday is for the 3-year-olds as well, going a one-turn mile. It's the Grade 2 Pat Day mile. $500,000 is the purse. Let's take a look at this bulky field. Big name making his seasonal debut. The number 5, Jack Christopher. Perfect 2 for 2 as a 2-year-old for Chad Brown. Winner of the Champagne with a gigantic Beyer speed figure. If he didn't get hurt, he might have been the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he would have been tough in that race.
Yeah, he would have. It's unfortunate that he didn't make it. He was really, really impressive both times we saw him last year. Very interested to see how he comes back off the layoff.
You know something, Mike? It might be the best thing that ever happened to him that he missed the Kentucky Derby trail, because something tells me he might turn out to be a better 7/8 one-turn mile type of horse. We'll find out, but let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this race. Jack Christopher's got a lot of speed. He's going to be fresh. He might have to deal with a red bar fast-paced scenario because Kavad's no slowpoke. He's going to be pushing the fractions.
Yeah, Kavad cutting back in distance with a little bit of speed here. He's a very underrated horse. I do think he's going to show speed in here. Pletcher's got 2 in this race as well, Dan. 1 inside, 1 outside, and it feels like both of them have a touch of speed as well. This pace could get fast.
Let's talk a little bit about one of Todd's horses. That's the number 1 Major General, who we see in mid-pack on your pace projector, but this horse showed renewed speed in his most recent start, the Lexington at Keeneland. We're going to take a look at that race right now, and he was up and on the pace. I really like that they went back to these tactics. First time with blinkers, and the horse that beat him, Mike Tawnyport, I know you're interested in him as a big priced contender in the Kentucky Derby. Major General ran really well to be second for him.
It was a really nice rebound performance for this horse. You're right. They tried different tactics with him this time. It worked out pretty well for them. He's a horse who, in his career debut as a 2-year-old, Dan, sprinting at Saratoga, just battled down the pace the entire way before he prevailed. So, he's not a slow horse. We'll see how they decide to play it from the rail here. He ran well last time. He was only second best. I found it hard to go back to him in this spot. But listen, he took a step forward last time, and it was nice to see off of a disaster in the Tampa Bay Derby off the break.
Yeah, he just didn't break it all in the Tampa Bay Derby. I wish he ran a little bit after that, but at the end of the day, you can give him an excuse simply because he started so abysmally. He's an underrated horse. I need a little bit more than 9-2 on the morning line. The number 2 is Trademark for Vicky Oliver, Rafael Bejarano. This one's going to be a big price. This one is not shied away from the better Derby preps. The horse ran in the Bluegrass last time out behind Zandon, was far from embarrassed. Time before that in the Tampa Bay Derby, showed some tactical speed. I think what he showed in those races was he's okay. He's not a Derby horse, and I like that they're regrouping and cutting him back in distance, catching a race with some pace. Does he have to improve? Yes.
He does. I agree with you on everything else you said about him, though. Take a little step back, maybe go a little shorter with him. I think that could really work out for him. I don't love any of his 3 races since he's come back as a 3-year-old. Dan, he wasn't winning the Bluegrass last time, but I'll tell you what, he did get in a little tight in the stretch there. He got sort of bounced around when Zandon came through to his inside. Again, he wasn't winning that race, but he had a little bit of trouble.
And I think pushing the reset button is going to help the number 3 Pappacap for Mark Casse, Flavien Prat. This is a horse that, of course, was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That put him squarely on the Kentucky Derby trail, and maybe he underperformed a little bit in his races, but he was part of a pretty fast pace last time out in the Florida Derby. I like him cutting back. He has races good enough to win. I know you're not his biggest fan, though.
I'm not, but I even looked at him in this race and thought this is a great spot for this horse. They're doing the right thing here, cutting him back in distance to try a one-turn race with them and just see if it works out. He's obviously not, at the top tier of this 3-year-old crop, but he's pretty good. He's run some really good races. And if you just take him based off of his last 3 starts, all 2-turn races on the Derby trail, and especially the last 2 at 9 furlongs where he just didn't perform, up to his top level. It does feel like this cutting back to the one-turn mile could really help this horse.
Dallas Stewart will saddle the 4 Ben Diesel with John Court aboard. We seem to ask this question every time Ben Diesel is in the entries. What has happened to Ben Diesel's early gas? He hasn't shown speed in his last few races, and I think that's not going to happen in here because cutting back in distance, facing some other fast horses, he might very well be outsprinted, but a similar situation as the 2 and the 3. A little bit of a reset, dropping back in distance, dropping in class.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of trip he can work out here. It's interesting. He's interesting cutting back, if only because in all 6 starts so far, they've all been 2-turn routes. They haven't even thought about going short with this horse ever in his life. So I wonder what the change is. Maybe just a little bit of class relief.
Jack Christopher's up next. He's the big name in this race. We're going to take a look at his performance in the Champagne, his second lifetime start after a very impressive debut performance at Saratoga. Jack Christopher broke sharp, rated just a bit to sit off of the early leader, took over under a very confident ride on the turn. He's on his way. A 2-year-old earning a 102 Beyer speed figure. That's nothing to sneeze at. It was at a flat 1-turn mile, which is what he's going to get on Saturday, but he is going to have to deal with an injury-induced layoff, and he is going to have to go a mile off the layoff. I wonder if Chad will have him completely cranked. A wet track is a potential question mark as well.
Yeah, all those things are true. I mean, listen, he's obviously a very talented horse who has some issues. And if he comes back and he's close to 100% in here and ready to go, it's a really good spot for him, and he'll probably win. I have some reservations about him, Dan, and I don't mind taking a little bit of a shot against him in this race. I do think he's probably the most talented horse, though. Just want to point out, you mentioned he got the big 102 Beyer in the Champagne. That race was initially a 93, and for some reason, a couple of days later, they bumped it up to a 102. I'll take the number with a grain of salt.
East Coast bias. 6 is Tejano Twist, a stakes winner at Churchill Downs sprinting. What happened last time out? Because it looked like Tejano Twist was going the right way for Brett Calhoun. First start off the layoff, they found a nice allowance race. He ran okay. He bombed in the Lafayette.
He did. He did not run well in that race last time at all. I mean, he was really wide in that race. He had broke from post 12. He never got over. He was just sort of hung up on the outside the entire way. And he just got really tired in the stretch of that race. I'm okay giving him a pass for that one because all of his prior races, especially the 1-turn races, they're all good. And he shows up and he makes runs in his races from off the pace. I think there are things to like about this horse. He could easily rebound at a good price.
Third start of the form cycle as well. And again, it was a wide trip last time out. He was 9-2 in that race. It'll be a much better price on Derby Day. Howling Time is up next. Dale Romans, Joe Talamo. This horse tried the Fountain of Youth. Didn't work. They ran him in the Lexington. Didn't work. Now they're going to drop him back in distance, drop him back in class. But ever since that Street Sense, in his second lifetime start, a race where we had a lot of concerns about even after it was over, he just hasn't done much running.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really get a handle on this horse. Now, I really liked his first 2 career starts, and I thought he ran well in both of them. He was bad in the Kentucky Jockey Club, where he actually got a pretty easy lead in that race and had no response when he got challenged. And he's just been terrible in his 2 starts as a 3-year-old. I can't bet him.
Kavad is up next, and I really respect this horse. He's a little trier. He's an overachiever. Look, he was bought for $3,500. He was claimed for $50. He's now a stakes winner, and I really like him cutting back in distance. I think those Derby preps were just way too long for him, and the issue is he's got speed. The horse to beat has speed. He might be in a very tough situation on a hard chase.
Yeah, I that's worries me about him too. I agree with everything else you said about him. I'm a real big fan of this horse. He's a real overachiever, really, really game. The cutback is supposed to really help this horse too. I just don't like the idea, even if Jack Christopher is not ready to run his A race here, I don't like the idea of being up on the pace with that horse.
Trafalgar is the number 9, going out for a really good trainer in Al Stall. I like the way this horse won his final start at 2, going a mile and a 16th. They ran him in the Lecomte. It was a race that featured a pretty fast and contested pace. He was up close and he gave no quarter. What happened last time out in the Risen Star? He just didn't break very well, and maybe that trip just didn't work out for him in a race that was controlled up front by a very good horse.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he didn't do a ton of running in there. He never really had a fair chance either. Ultimately, Dan, I just don't really feel like this horse wants to go that far. They keep stretching this horse out. I don't think he's gotten better with any of the added distance in any of those races. He did run okay off the layoff in December. In that allowance race, he dug in really gamely to hold, but he didn't improve with the added distance. Now they're cutting him back to the 1-turn mile. I think that's key for this horse. I liked his debut at Saratoga going 7. I liked the way that he rallied up the inside there to get second after Classic Causeway, just controlled that pace from the front. in his maiden win, the 1-turn mile here at Churchill Downs, where he got a pace and he finished big.
I also like Doppelganger cutting back in distance here. I think he might turn out to be more of a one-turn type. He was second in the San Felipe, no match for Forbidden Kingdom, who just ran a hole in the wind, although he tried to get into it with an inside bid on the second turn and really didn't quit in the stretch. I really was looking forward to seeing how he would run in the Arkansas Derby. First time for Yakteen, and he was cold on the tote board. They hustled him out of the gate to get position, and at the 3/8 pole, he was going to run last. How did he finish fourth? Because it looked like he was running at the end of that race.
It did. I don't know how to explain it because I'm with you on the far turn, and I liked him that day too. On the far turn, I thought he was going to finish dead last. And at that time, I was saying, what were they doing anyway? Why was this horse up there pushing the pace on the outside? I don't know how he came back for fourth, but he did. I'm with you. I like him cutting back in distance for this. He's an easy horse to sort of make a case for in this race, Dan, especially if the favorite needs one off the bench.
My Prankster, the number 11, I guess a mile is pushing it a bit, even though he certainly has the pedigree. I like him as a sprinter, and I like that Todd has kept him as a sprinter. His win in the Swale, it was not the strongest field in the world, but he looked good doing it. Last time out in the Lafayette, give me your impression of that race going 7/8 of a mile over a wet track.
I mean, I didn't think he ran well in that race at all. Just, basically under a ride from the start. He couldn't really keep up. He's another horse exiting that race, though, Dan, who was, sort of wide most of that trip. We talked about Tejano Twist in that race. It was really wide. This horse was wide also. He just didn't really do a lot in there. Working hard the entire way, never made a real impact. When I look at his races, Dan, to me, he's just more game than anything else. I don't think he has a ton of talent, but he's a real hard trier. And maybe if he works out the right trip, he can be there at the end.
Completing the field is the 12, O Captain. If you're looking for a horse with a real puncher's chance from the back of the pack, it could be O Captain, who was third at a giant price in the Fountain of Youth, although, again, he might have benefited from a little bit of a spill on the second turn. In the Florida Derby last time out, he ran fine again. He passed some tired horses. I do think this horse has some ability. I do like him cutting back to a mile. He needs some pace.
He does. I think he's sort of an interesting bigger price in here, though. I'm with you on the Fountain Youth. He was an opportunistic third that day. He had a little trouble in the Florida Derby, though. He wasn't going to win that race either, but he got caught behind horses on the turn. He got caught behind two more horses who were stopping in the stretch of that race. I thought he did well just to get up for fifth, and I like him cutting back to the 1-turn mile.
Before we get to our top picks, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel to access all of our video content. Top pick time for the Pat Day Mile. I like where you're going, Mike. You're going for a price. Trafalgar is one of several horses in this race, dropping out of Derby preps, not only in class, but in distance. And I think that could help.
Me too. I like the shorter distance for this horse. I don't think he wants to go long at all. He's going to need the pace projector to be right, I think. He's going to need a little pace and a little hitting in front of him, but I think he'll run at the end.
Jack Christopher's the most talented horse in this race, I believe, but if you're going to get him, you might get him off the layoff going a 1-turn mile on a potential wet track. I think J.Velazquez learned a lot about riding Doppelganger last time out. It might be that he's just a real tricky horse to ride. I think this time they're just going to let him find his stride getting out of the gate and maybe try to make a run from mid-pack. 9-5-12-1 for Mike, 10-5-1-3 for me. It's the return of Jack Christopher in the Pat Day Mile on Derby Saturday. Good luck.